Okay, I have to be careful today because I've suffered quite a lot of sabotage. Now let's see, I have to do a couple of audio checks before I start this call. Just give me a bit of time. Let's see if everybody can hear me. Just be patient. This is, I'm trying something new. Oops, okay, so this advert. Sorry, I have to do a sound check, but I'm also diverted to the adverts myself, so just bear with me. Oops, okay, so this advert. Sounds good. Okay, I can see that there are some things that are a bit odd in the way the camera is set up, but doesn't matter. We'll just get started. So thank you for your patience today. I am still kind of getting used to the new Zoom software. So I hope everybody can hear me. Let me just do one final sound check. Just a sec. I am still kind of getting. Okay, yes, that sounds fine. All right, so hello and welcome everybody. I am still alive. I know that people started doubting if I am because I haven't actually gotten in touch for a very long time. There's a very good reason for this. And this is because, number one, I am being tortured into the ground and I was not in a fit state to actually come online. Most of you don't notice, most of you think that the way you see me now during these 1 or 2 hours is how I live my life, and nothing could be further from the truth. Most of the time, and by now 5 days out of 7 on average, I am literally at the end of my physical ability to take the torture. Okay, so I'm barely functional. I've got difficulties walking or holding my balance, you know, and everything is extremely hard. And I have to take painkillers to get through the day because the chips are turned on for maximum pain signaling and pain torture. When it's not pain torture, they turn on the dozens and dozens of chip implants on my scalp and heat my brain, which is kind of a synthetic meningitis sort of state. And, you know, if it's pain or if it's heating, they keep me pretty much on the verge of just about, you know, being just before throwing up. I know it's awful, but that's how, you know, I feel. And even though they don't actually push me, even though they could, they've done that before, where they made me throw up 4 times in a row, I think, to calibrate my pain threshold. But even though they don't push me there, you are not in a fit state to come online. So that's number one. Okay. And I also want you to understand that I am probably one of the more public victims, okay, but I'm by no means the most tortured one or the, you know, only one. You have to understand that what I'm telling you is not specific to me. You just happen to see me because I decided to go public. What is being done to me is being done to literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I would say by now, hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions around the world. That's my estimate. So, you know, I just happened to have been in a position where I could go public and I had the personality to do that. But every single time you hear me complain about this in your mind, I want you to multiply what I'm telling you by a fact of, you know, 100,000 or 500,000 or several million, and then you will understand what's going on in the world currently. Okay. And always remember that when I speak up about these things, it's not because I really need a public moan, okay, because I want all of your sympathy, because it doesn't help me anyway. I mean, I don't really know most of you guys, and I'm not really talking to you. But the reason why I do that is not for pity. It is so that you understand that what we're dealing with, I'm speaking up for all the people who cannot. Okay, either because they can't go public, because they don't dare to, or because they're so tortured that they can't even get their act together for those 1 or 2 hours to go public, or for many other reasons, because they are in positions of, you know, in public office, and if they went public, they would be killed, and a million other things. Okay, but I want you to understand that what I'm going through is what many people, you wouldn't even believe, right? The kind of people who go through exactly this, right? And you wouldn't believe because a judge would not go public like I go public and talk about being tortured by this criminal network. Okay. But it happens. All right. I have spoken to judges. I have spoken to other professionals. I've spoken to whistleblowers. I've spoken to former Secret Service agents. I've spoken to pretty much everybody and anybody sampled. Right. I haven't talked to royalty yet. All right. And I haven't talked to chiefs of MI6, but, you know, I mean, indirectly, I'm sure they're watching. But I'm pretty sure that they could be tortured like this as well, and they would be much more likely to be killed. So I want you to understand that what we're dealing with is an integrated torture system and kill system that can hit anybody, anytime, anywhere on the planet, because we're all implanted and we're all hooked up. But also it is hitting people all across the planet. It is hitting judges, it is hitting lawyers, it is hitting police officers, it's hitting absolutely everybody. Okay, so, but nevertheless, you know, every single time I try to do work, there's an up and down and up and down in the torture. And for the last month, pretty much, yeah, I think more than a month by now, and literally the last month exactly, more or less, I have been mauled to bits. And there's a very good reason for that. And that's because the deep state and MI6 is getting their knickers in a twist over the upcoming court case. And it is coming. It's impossible to divert. Even if they killed me now, there still would be a court case. Okay. So the ball got rolling, and I've got some big news to tell you what I've been doing all this time while you haven't heard about me. I can talk about some things, not about others, but you know, I've got some big news for you. But what I want you to take away from this, from the entire, you know, video today, is that court cases are coming, and that this is now the final boarding call. Okay, it's the final boarding call for two groups of people to get on board. Number one, victims who still haven't filled out their victim affidavit, the tick box affidavit. Do it now. Do it now. I'm filing in London, but even if you are in the US, anywhere in the Commonwealth, or even anywhere else on the planet for that matter, you can still get into my court case. Okay. And there's a very good reason why you can testify in my court case, because it's a global system, but there's more, you know, finer details to that. So please fill out the tick box affidavit. This is your final chance. The affidavit collection will be open, and it will remain open for the foreseeable future. But the difference between now and in a month or 2 months' time is that if you get your affidavit in now, it can be lodged in an actual real life court case. Okay, it means that you have a toehold in the legal system and you have already testified. Okay, you have already testified in writing about what is happening to you. This is extremely, extremely important. Okay, and the reason why this is important is because, as most of you know, sorry, I'm just being hit in the face. As most of you know, the police doesn't do anything. Okay, so as far as you as a civilian, you know, go, you have only so many places where you can register your claim. Okay, and once the police is not helping you, there's only the courts really, and that's because there's no parliament on planet Earth that does anything about this torture holocaust. They don't. I think the only reason they are in parliament, on the Senate, on Congress, is because they have a control file and they're part of, you know, the Masons or the Illuminati or the Eastern Star. They're somehow part of the Crown Corporation, right? Maybe there are a few exceptions, but they for sure do not have critical mass. So the courts are the only place where you can go and enforce your individual right. You don't have to wait for Congress or Parliament or anything. You can go and have your case put before a judge who will just decide about your personal case. Okay, and this is why the Masons and every other, you know, branch of the Crown Corporation and this cabal has been trying to subvert the courts, because what they really want is to, you know, corral us and herd us like sheep and make collective decisions about us, you know, so that we can collectively be culled or genocided or mass murdered, but we don't have individual rights. Okay. But that's not how society runs. The courts are there for you as an individual. And if you listen to, for example, the Supreme Court, they refer to court users, singular, court users, and they keep talking about how the courts have to be open for all the court users, okay? It's not just for white people or just for Black people or just for upper class people or working class people or cartel members or cartel outsiders. No, it is for everybody, singular, them as an individual. And this is super important, and this is extremely important to keep that way, okay? But it is under attack. It is under attack by this globalist thing, this entity, this crime cartel, okay? So anyway, I want you to understand that. But what that means is if you, as an individual, want to get into that system, you have several ways in, as a litigant or as a witness. Now, as a witness, you're not as strong as a litigant because the case is not about you, but after you have testified, the system can't really deny knowledge about you. And also, because these are very special cases, they are nothing like what the judiciary dealt with for the last 50 years. These are about crimes against humanity happening right now, live. Genocide and crimes against humanity, exactly like the Nazis did them. Exactly the same. Exactly the same mind control, exactly the same Dr. Mengele type of bullshit, exactly the same type of concentration camps. It's only that now they are individualized and they are in your flat. They're not, they don't actually, they save the train, to Auschwitz or to other places, because some people say that Auschwitz was actually a weapons manufacturing facility to refine, uranium. Okay, could be, but they're sure as fuck were the concentration camps, okay? So now the concentration camps are individual. They are your own body because the chips are killing you, or they're your flat because the directed energy weapons are targeted at them. But it's exactly the same program. But this is very special. On a normal day, no high court or no court of appeal or Supreme Court, right, deals with live crimes against humanity. So it's an extraordinary situation. But there, every police service and every court has, in principle, a statutory duty to stop crimes against humanity, especially when they're happening right now, live in their country. Right? That is the most fundamental job that they have. When the population starts being murdered, right, by another group inside the population, the courts have to act. The police has to act. The military has to act. Unfortunately, it is the police and the military and the intelligence services committing the genocide, right? So what's left? The courts. So that's why it's so important. So in other words, when your name as a Holocaust victim enters the court cannot deny knowledge about you as a Holocaust victim. Do you understand? The court has a statutory duty to get their ass into gear and do something about it, and to use all the powers of the court. Okay, that's why it's so important. So if you want to get into my court case as a testifying witness, you have to fill out the tick box affidavit, which is the first link on my website. Now, the other final boarding call is for a second group of people, and those are expert witnesses. Okay, those are investigators, high-profile researchers, people with a long track record, people with qualifications that really show that they know what they are talking about, and they spent an awful lot of time investigating, and they have basically the intellectual or research credential goods, right, that they have to be taken seriously. So it's the specialist branch. There's a lot of victims who've done a lot of research, but the experts have to show like extra expertise, extra qualifications, extra dedication, extra diligence in how they put together the evidence. So I want to hear from these two people, from the victims and the experts. And both of you need to send me your affidavits now. Okay, now this is the final boarding call. Please make your way to boarding, which means please fill it out. So if you're victim, your case will be massive. You go for the tick box affidavit. If you're an expert witness, you will start with the oath at the top, which is I so-and-so, right? State under oath and say as follows, blah, 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 right? Then you will have numbered paragraphs, and at the end you will have a statement of truth, and you will sign it before a person entitled to administer oaths, which could be someone at your bank, or at your local post office in some countries, or a notary public. But you don't have to go to a notary public because they're kind of pricey, and bastards who will rip you off. You don't need that. You just need a person entitled to administer oaths that your signature under your expert affidavit is really you. That's all I need. Okay. So expert, so if you're victim, this is done for you on the template. It's all there. If you're an expert, that's what you need. The oath at the front, at the beginning, the statement of truth at the end, signed before a person entitled to administer oaths, okay? And then in between, you have numbered paragraphs, and you can write anything you want. You can write, first of all, about your expertise, what aspect of Secret Service criminality, systemic corruption, financial fraud, the black budget, stolen trillions, or directed energy weapons, or nanotechnology, or implants, or 9/11, or false flags, or anything to do with this crime cartel. What you know about, you write that down, and you can also write about your personal targeting, because that's what my court case is about. My court case is about making the world safe again for researchers, for investigators, for just clever people, for geniuses, right? Because there's an Intelligenzaktion running. Clever people are being murdered by the intelligence agencies. And I want to make the planet safe again for them, okay? So you also can write extensively about your personal targeting. This could be the destruction of your businesses, housebreaking, the fact that your marriage was broken up or broke up under distress, which is pretty much the same, or that your children were taken away, or that your pension was stolen, or anything that is related to this criminality. It can go into this as well because it is relevant to this court case, okay? So you two guys, experts and victims, this video is for you, the first half certainly, and it says, get your ass into gear and please testify in my court case because I need your help, okay? Please testify. And should you testify, what I'm trying to get for you is a protective injunction against the intelligence agencies. This means that the intelligence agencies must not target you, break into your homes, hack your devices, kill your spouse, or kill your pets, and this sort of stuff that they do as part of their standard operating procedure. Okay, so that is the minimum that you can expect when you testify in a court case, and that is something that I really want to fight for. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, the other thing you need to know, guys, okay, is there's several things you need to know, but I have done a little project and I've done something unusual, and then I was retaliated against, with a sledgehammer. And this time the sledgehammer hit my website. So on the 14th of September, I got an email from WordPress, and they informed me that they have shut down my website, stop007.org. Okay. That was interesting, not surprising, but massively off-putting, okay? Now, the way they did that to me and the way they do it to everybody is very unusual. They don't just, they didn't give me a strike or warning. They didn't tell me that I've done something wrong, okay? My website is very kind of, objective and just down the facts and evidence and facts. So there's nothing really to object to, okay? So the email I got, and I want to show you this email because it's important. It is part of the criminality that we're dealing with. And there are some very, very subtle things in this. So let me just share it. I hope you can see. Let's see, I just still have to wait to check if you can see what I'm showing. Let's see. Okay, I have to wait for YouTube to catch up. Okay, it looks like you can see what I'm saying. Okay, so Now, this is the email printed off, okay? So this is directly from WordPress, and let me blow it up. So the email is the TOS, I call it the TOS reports, the TOS. It's the termination of service reports, or on the terms of service, whatever, reports, something like that. So it's TOS reports at wordpress.com, and note the day, 14 September 2019, which was a Saturday, okay? Let me just check my diary. Yes, September. So, sorry, it's a bit slow. Okay, yes, September the 14th was a Saturday, right? And it was sent at close to 7 p.m. local time in Europe, which 7 p.m. in Europe is 1 p.m. East Coast. And then the further into the US you get, the earlier it gets, okay? But it's a Saturday afternoon. All right. Or in California, I don't know, it might be Saturday pre-noon, but it's round about that time. Now, who the F is at work on Saturday? Okay. So since when are these people working on a Saturday? Maybe WordPress and the entire team, right? Not just customer helpline, which they usually arrange to be also on the weekend and sometimes 24/7 by tying in, India and other places. But these terms of service violations would be full-time, like customer services. That's very unusual, isn't it? You just wouldn't expect to be that many service violations as there would be customer, help issues. So I received this on a Saturday, which already raises a flag for me, right? And then this is what they wrote, okay? They say, hello. Upon reviewing your WordPress.com sites, and look at how they hit 2 of them, stop 007, and this is basically the original link. This is the free WordPress, and then my domain is stop007.org, which was also with WordPress at the time, okay? But they hit this one, Stop 007, and Globalist Watch, okay? Now, I had rescued the Globalist Watch G+ community. I had downloaded it, and I had taken it onto WordPress.org, okay? Because the Globalist Watch Google community, before Google shut down communities, had several, I think 5 years of just information about Secret Service criminality and this cabal, okay? Memes and articles and everything. So I had saved that and I had put it up on Globalist Watch, but on WordPress, but Globalist Watch didn't have any new posts because I just didn't have the time. It was a backup site. So they hit something that was basically a static site with no updates for months and months since I opened this. And they hit my website, which also did not have any recent updates. And they just spontaneously hit it. And now comes the best part. Okay, here's the text. Upon review of these 2 sites, we have determined that your content does not align with our terms of service or user guidelines, but they don't state how. As stated in our terms, we may choose to stop providing services to an account at any time, for any reason, or none at all. Okay, now they don't state the reason, so it must be none at all. They shut down my website for no reason at all, but this cannot be because I've got many more websites with them. I actually have several other websites. They weren't hit. It was only the 2 to do with Secret Service criminality and cabal criminality, Stop 007 and globalistwatch.org. So it's not even true that there's no reason at all. What they mean is the reason they have is an unlawful reason. That's why they can't say. Now, when I saw that, I was like, okay, WordPress.com, you're up in court, because there's no way I'll let this stand. There's no way you are hitting me just after I have, actually done something important, and then you hit 2 websites, both of them static, one completely static, the other one with no updates, and the only thing that they have in common is Secret Service criminality. There's no way in sweet fuck I'll let this pass. Okay, so WordPress will be up in court because what I think this is evidence for is that WordPress is run by the defendants who I'm going to attack in court, right, for their crimes against humanity. And it's basically MI6/CIA reaching out to WordPress and saying, could somebody please on the weekend pop in, you know, into the office and shut down her website. I think this is what happened. Now, this was, you know, quite the bother at the time. So my website was down for 3 weeks because I'm preparing court cases. I'm being tortured such that I'm crawling on my gums. And then they shut down my website. So for 3 weeks, you know, and you can actually check in the Wayback Machine, the Internet Archive, that my website was down. Now, I think it's back up again. I moved it to a new hosting service. And I have tried, I mean, the migration was a pain in the butt because the new hoster somehow magically, even though they offer automatic, you know, moving services, I didn't get it. And I couldn't even pay for it. They just said, no, you can't have it. So they were like, they probably thought, oh, you know, stupid little woman, she doesn't really know about this stuff. There's no way she'll get her website up and running. Well, tough shit, right? Because as a particle physicist, we had to make our own websites. We had to do with all this computing crap ourselves. So I'm pretty much used to that. So I just had to grind through and my website is back up. Okay. So I had to do everything by hand again, but it's now done. If you see any broken links, please let me know by emailing to contact@stop007.org. So now everything is migrated and everything is back up. And if the new hosting service picks a fight with me, well, they can just join the defendants, right? But this was very unusual. Now, anyway, what I want to say, again, this is not just about me. This is about a pattern. Other people had their website shut down. Now, what I urge you to do is, number one, when you still have your website, go to export and export the zip file yourself. Download an app. I think there's something called All-in-One WordPress Migration Service, and download the file, the one big zip archive, using this app so that should you have to move, you can import it much quicker, okay? Because what they did with me is they didn't just shut down my website, they blocked my access to the entire back end, which is two different things. You can shut down a website without blocking access to the account. And what they did is that they blocked my access to my content. Okay, that was a very interesting move as well. And then what they forced me to do is be reliant on their zip file export of my content. And I had to trust them that it was intact without being able to check, without being able to download the file modification history, which I could have done had I been able to log in. So fuck knows what these criminals have changed, okay? And sure enough, the zip file was corrupted, right? So I had to go back and restore painstakingly everything from different sources and do this. So basically what I've experienced is a website shutdown. Sorry, this is not signaling. This is literally something being in my face and it's tickling me. So what I experienced is not just a website shutdown. I experienced it in the, you know, in that, a shutdown plus the maximum amount of sabotage that you can possibly cram into a website shutdown. So no moving service for you. You don't have access to your content. You can't export it yourself. You're reliant on our zip file export. And oh, by the way, that zip file is corrupted. Interesting. Okay. So these things were on top. The fact that they didn't give me a warning, because what you typically do as a paying customer or as a service provider, you write to people, you warn them that your service will be withdrawn, and then you give them minimum 2 weeks, and then you can withdraw the service. And that's what's normal. That's not what WordPress did, and I'm a paying customer. So I don't have a free WordPress blog. I'm a paying customer. And I've actually paid them quite a lot over the years. So this is not acceptable. Absolutely not acceptable by any standards. But unfortunately, the way they did it, looping back to Secret Service criminality, ties them straight back to MI6, right? Which is why I'm going to bundle them with this court case, because as far as I'm concerned, this was targeted sabotage. Okay, so anyway, that happened, but my website is now back up and running. So please go to stop007.org and then check that all the important links that you need are still intact. Okay, so let me just point out a few things that are important, and then we'll start with all the other stuff. Okay, so let me share my screen. So this is my website, stop007.org. The font is still screwed up, but otherwise I think everything is back. Any broken links, the email is printed here at the top. Please contact me, okay? Now, if you're a victim or if you're an expert witness, you use the first link here to get to, sorry, it also takes a bit longer to load. So you have to be a bit more patient, unfortunately. I don't know why the images are not loading, but anyway, so just be a bit more patient. And then what you need to do as a victim is you go down and you download this OpenOffice file, and you download OpenOffice and you install it, and then you fill it out and send it to me. How you send it to me is on page 19 of the explanatory notes. Please read. If you are an expert, what you do is you still go here and you copy and paste out the oath, which is the first paragraph. You copy and paste this bit into a Word document, okay? Word processing document. Then you press enter, and then you will start numbering your paragraphs. So you press numbering, you write everything that you want to write, and then at the very end, you copy the last page of this, which means you will stop the numbering paragraphs, you will write statement of truth, underline, then you will copy this out, and then you will have these lines here, right? And these you will fill out before person entitled to administer oaths, okay? And that's the only thing that I require. I can make a front, putting in the reference for the court case myself. So that's what I need from you. And then you need to sign it, okay? And also you need to send me photo ID, but please cover up the serial number so that nobody can commit ID fraud, okay? But for the European courts, I need an ID. They need to know who you are, okay? So both victims, it's all done for you. Expert witnesses, you have to copy the first paragraph and you have to copy the last page. In between, you just write numbered paragraphs. And in the numbered paragraphs, you are free to write whatever you can testify about under oath. I don't care what you write about. It's absolutely no holds barred, right? You can write about 9/11, financial fraud, false flags, murder, anything, child trafficking, anything, right? Satanic ritual sacrifice, anything goes, because it's all Secret Service criminality. I just want your affidavits. And you are also allowed, in fact, encouraged to write about what has been done to you personally in terms of retaliation and in terms of targeting. All of this goes in. Everybody understood that now? Final boarding call. Please make your way, make your way to boarding by filling this out. Okay, so now for the rest of you guys who will not testify, you're not experts, you're not victims, and everybody else who's listening, let me give you some news, okay? First of all, personal news. And these news, before I do, let me just check YouTube again. Just a moment. I'm a bit nervous with this new Zoom framework and with all the sabotage I've been experiencing. So just a second. Just check. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Now, what I want you to okay, so what have I been involved in? Now, first of all, my biggest thanks to all the people who support me on Patreon through donations and through, all the help that you give me by sending me links and information, but especially those people who have supported me financially. Thank you so much from the depths of my heart, because if you hadn't been there, I could have never, ever, ever, ever done what I just did. Okay, which is to travel to the US. So it was your donations that paid for the flights, for the hotel. I had to change my hotel because I was attacked in the hotel. So you guys paid for it, and I'm so grateful you did, because going to the US was the best thing I could have ever done. Okay, I collected some evidence and I got a lot of things rolling for the court case. It was super, super, super important. Okay, but I want you to know that when you are donating, when you are supporting me financially specifically, this is not just, you know, paying for, you know, things like me staying alive and eating. It is going into hardcore projects that need to be done. And without your, you know, sponsorship and investment into these fights, I literally could not have done it. So you guys made a difference between something absolutely awesomely great happening and not happening. Okay. And it's a big difference, because now moving forward, I have, you know, put things into place in the US that I really can build on for this court case. It is super important. Okay. So thank you to all of you. You know, small donors, big donors, you all count, and you make the difference between life and death. It is literally you. It is you who are supporting me. Okay. And I want you to know that everything that you have invested and donated has gone to basically build this, to me to be able to have accumulated this evidence, to be able to launch this court case, me even being able to help people, right? It is only thanks to you. Without you, I would have been fucked a long time ago, because in my current state, I cannot build my businesses and I cannot take paid employment because I'm tortured to the absolute edges of what I'm capable of taking. Okay, so thank you to all of you, and please keep supporting me throughout this, because now comes the most important phase of all, which is the court cases. And the secret services, specifically CIA MI6, will do their utmost to break me. Okay, and between me breaking and dying and not breaking and dying, the only people who can make a difference are you lot. It literally is down to that. Okay, and there are a million things that you can do to make a difference. And financial, yes, is a lifeline, but it's not just financial. Retweeting helps. Sending emails to people, being in people's faces and saying, this is real, this has to be stopped now. It is your job as a police officer, it is your job as a judge, it is your job as a parliamentarian or congressperson to stop this now. We're watching you, and if you don't stop this, you will not be in public office ever the fuck again, right? This is what you need to do. Oops, there is an alarm. Sorry, I have to, sorry about this little break. I have to switch off this alarm clock. I will be back in a moment. Okay, I hope you can still hear me. Sorry, I just had to pop over there. I will explain what this is about in a moment. So just a second. Let's see if you can still hear me. Okay, I hope you can still hear me. You can. Sounds good, sounds good. So what this is about, okay, it is now exactly 8 a.m. And typically I set an alarm to get up at 8 a.m. And that's when I go to bed at, 3 and 4 and stuff like that. But today I didn't even go to bed. So yeah, I'm still working from yesterday. So fuck this alarm clock. But the reason why my entire schedule is completely fucked is because, first of all, I'm still on US time and I can't switch back. And second of all, because they're working my chips and they're trying to make me night active. And they use the fact that I switched over to different time zone to keep me in this time zone. desperately. Okay, they want to fuck up my life, which they, you know, kind of did, but we're gonna fuck theirs up too. So anyway, so this is what this is about. Now, the trip to the US, I don't really want to go into fine details because they are relevant for the court case. But I can tell you it was my very first trip to the United States. In fact, it was the first time ever that I left Europe. Okay, and you know, back in a few decades ago, leaving a continent was a big thing, right? And only few people did it. These days, everybody is, you know, flying to Thailand on holiday and this and that. So not having left your continent is kind of unusual when you're in the Western world. Yeah. So I've now finally left Europe and I went to the US, and it was amazing because there are, I mean, in a sense, they are very Anglo-Saxon, so it's very similar, but there are huge differences. And of course, number one difference, which I now have to keep in mind and emphasize, is that what you call, you know, what I call a torch, you call a flashlight. And when I talk about ultraviolet, you know, the ultraviolet test for the eye implants, I should refer to torch/flashlight so that you know what I'm talking about. Because when I spoke to people in the US, they were like, what? What's a torch? I'm like, this thing, you know? So a flashlight. The other thing I noticed, I mean, it was really funny because flying in, okay, so you kind of see, you know, the US from above, and it was really green and wonderful and just very exciting. It was sunny and it was so warm. It was absolutely great. And then you get out and it's like any airport looks pretty much the same anywhere around the world. And then you get out into the city. And I have to tell you that there's this huge difference between Europe and the US, and it's to do with size. So everything in the US is massive. It's like your cars, your homes, your roads, the portion size of what you eat, the size of coffee, it's like a bucket, you know, and so on. And what was really funny, okay, this is hilarious, but if you are in, for example, in Germany, okay, people are very low key. And also very rich people are very low key. And for example, if you're in Italy, you have typically your granny or somebody in your family lives in a tiny picturesque little village with such tiny, tiny windy roads because it's ancient still from Roman times, right? That when you're driving your tiny Italian car, you're still driving over people's footmats. And I'm not joking. So in Europe, everything is kind of small, and, you know, so that you can get around these ancient cities and so on. And literally, certainly in Germany, so when I grew up, there was only one type of person who would ever drive, you know, something like a pickup truck. And it's still the European pickup truck, not the American version, which is even bigger, but the European pickup truck. There was only one type of person, and I was a very kind of a person who, for his personal safety, had to come across as very macho, very masculine. I'm talking about pimps, okay? So in Germany, the only people typically drive pickup trucks are pimps. All right, so when I went out into the city in the US, my very first thought was, oh my, there are a lot of pimps around here, you know? I can see what the main line of business of this town is, you know, and after a while you realize, oh no, everybody's driving these massive pickup trucks. So that was really funny. The other thing, there were two other things I noticed which absolutely blew my mind. Number one is you get normal people, normal looking people, but there's a category of person who you just don't see in Europe. I mean, really, I don't know where you have to go to see them, but it is these super overweight people. And what I mean is not just, oh, you've got a couple of pounds and you feel a bit podgy and your clothing doesn't suit you. No, I'm talking about people who are so overweight, they are really two people and some. I was just like, at some point, I was stalked by a guy and I only saw him like his head. I could see that he was a gang stalker, and I was like, I'm going to get you, motherfucker. I got my phone out and I literally followed him because, yeah, I was actually going to my hotel room, right? It was this windy hotel. I was like, okay, I'm going to film you. And then I got into the corridor and I actually saw him and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even, you know you can be alive. when you're that big. I mean, your heart hasn't given up, but that little heart and those little legs are carrying 2.5 people. Wow. I mean, you ironically, you're massively overweight, but you must have the heart of an Olympic athlete just to go to the grocery store, right? Carrying that much weight. It's like, I realized I kept filming because it was like, you know, a freak show. I was like, oh God, I need to show my family. They will never believe. But this is, I'm sorry, I'm not just fat shaming and being, you know, mocking a gang stalker here. What I'm actually saying is that becoming so overweight has nothing to do with you, okay? Because if it had something to do with you, there would be somebody like you over here in Europe. We've got millions of people as well, but there isn't. So becoming so overweight must be an external effect. There must be something in you, in the food, or some brain control, or some CIA mindfuck experiment where they want to shape your body and take it over and turn you ludicrously fat. But it must be something, because I swear I have never seen people like that anywhere in Europe, anywhere. And I traveled, even though I didn't leave Europe, I have traveled all around Europe, the Balkans, the Scandinavian countries, Anglo-Saxon countries, Spain, Italy. I've been everywhere. Never. So I'm making a serious point here, guys. And this is, if you are that overweight, don't get upset about me being like this and talking about it. What you should take on board is the following. Number one, it has absolutely sweet nothing to do with you. So don't feel shame or don't feel like it's your fault. It fucking isn't. What I'm telling you is you're most likely the victim of some fucked up Dr. Mengele style CIA experiment. And if you're that overweight, I would say start with looking for implants. Because if I had to guess, you have the same dozens of radio frequency implants on your skull, a strong emitter in the back of your head or your neck, okay, and probably eye implants so that they can see what you're eating. And you have been part of an experiment, because it is just physically impossible, like statistically impossible, not physically, statistically impossible, you know, that you would have 320 million Americans with a lot of people like that who actually genetically all originated from Europe, and 320 million Europeans, and nobody's like that. What's the difference between Europe and America? Well, the CIA, that's the difference. Okay. So really, you know, don't go on a diet and desperately try to go on a diet and think it's your fault. No, find the fucking chips on your scalp, because I think it's the chips driving you to eat. Okay. And I can tell you that chips drive me. I mean, this is what happened after I came back from the US. The chips were used, and I kid you not, to drive me to cry incessantly for no reason at all. Literally no fucking reason. Nothing happened. Everything was fine. In fact, I just done work-wise, achieved more than before, and I was really on track. And yet I spent 2 weeks crying rivers for no reason. I was like, oh my God, MI6 are such wankers. You know, they are fucking wankers, but it's nothing to cry about. And yet I was just crying. This was all entirely neurotech. But I couldn't stop it. I was literally just typing, feeling like, what the fuck's going on? I'm not upset, yet I'm crying. And it was the most freakish thing of being detached from what you supposedly are meant to feel, right? It was just yet another neuro experiment. They probably thought, oh, we'll try to turn her into a pathetic little woman who just keeps crying. And it's like, no, I'm still writing my court case, but I'm just, you know, drenched because I'm crying so much. But anyway, so they can do that. They will do that, you know, if they get bored or want to piss you off, or if they load you into an experiment, they can turn you super obese, probably just to check, you know, how obese can you get people before they die, you know, literally a Mengele type experiment. So forget the fucking diet shakes. Find your chips, and I'm pretty sure that as soon as you take your chips out, all this should normalize, because you are not driven by what must presumably be an AI controlled supercomputer. Okay, And I'm serious about this, guys, you know. So anyway, that was the obesity thing, which obesity I've never seen in my life. And but the other thing, well, the gang stalkers are the same. Actually, there was a small difference also between the weapons. Okay, the weapons feel different in the US, probably a different manufacturer or different way they operate them. But you know, I definitely felt that, oh yeah, this is now the FBI frying me and not, you know, Swiss Intel and MI6 anymore. It's like, okay, great, you know. But then the other very, very important difference, and this was again just like, what the fuck is this? You know, it was the tap water. Oh my word. You know, if you go to a restaurant and you get the tap water for free, right? I mean, we went to a restaurant with the people that I was working with, and they just poured it in, and I just sipped and was like, what the fuck is this? I mean, this is not water. The main ingredient in this soup is not water. It's something else, because it smells and it tastes, it literally tastes like, in Europe, you can reproduce the taste if you take a cup, and if you're, you know, if you're the average European, you probably are very well to do, go outside, dip this cup into your swimming pool, and then go inside, take half a tube toothpaste, dissolve it in water and drink it. And that will be US tap water. It was disgusting. And it was just literally, I was just, and this is not, you know, somewhere in the back of beyond. It was, you know, a place I'm not going to say, but it was a very civilized city that everybody knows, right? And I just took a sip and I was just like, fuck is this? And then I couldn't stop drinking it, because I kept thinking, no, this can't be it. Maybe I just mistasted, you know. And I took another sip and was like, no, seriously, this is really that fucked up. Is it really that fucked? Oh my God, yeah, it is that fucked up. It's like, how much can you drink before you die? You know, I cleared like half a cup of this stuff before I thought, whoa, okay, stop the self-experimentation now. You will never drink this shit ever again. I mean, it was like chlorine and fluoride to, I don't know, not even the legal limit in Europe. It's, I think it's how much you can dissolve in water. It was the chemical limit of chlorine and, you know, fluoride in this water. It was insane. If that tap water doesn't, like, you know, erase your brain cells, I don't know what will. So seriously, guys, stop drinking the fucking tap water. And then speaking to not just to one American, but several Americans about this, you know, what I kept hearing is people kept saying to me several times, you know, when I was a child, I kept saying, I don't like the taste of water, of tap water. It's like, here in Europe, tap water tastes of nothing. It is the definition of tasting of nothing. So when in Europe we say it tastes like water, we mean it tastes of nothing. We don't mean it tastes like what comes out of a chemical, you know, chemical plant. Fuck me. This is surreal. And I think they got all the Americans onto drinking this. And because they did it everywhere and they did it for decades, probably increasing the doses gradually, people got used to it and they think it's normal. No, it fucking isn't. It's a genocide, you know, delivery vector. That's what it is. Stop drinking the fucking tap water. And then when you detoxed for a week, you know, get some testing done on the tap water, measure the amount of chlorine and fluoride in that, and all the other gunk they put into that. You know, literally you pay for the testing by a lab, and then go to your city council, or ideally straight to court, and sue the water treatment plant, the water delivery company. Okay, maybe this is state, maybe this is private, but I'm telling you, this is not normal. And in Europe, I have traveled now. I've even traveled to places in Spain where it was desalinated water, because otherwise they didn't have enough groundwater for all the tourists and stuff like that. And not even that, like really heavily treated water, not even that tasted like that, you know. And in London, where they get the water straight from the Thames, which has everything that washed up, you know, from everywhere else in the UK, streaming down into the Thames, that water is massively treated because probably they have to get, you know, typhoid and malaria and whatnot, you know, diphtheria out of that water, and it's massively treated. But even there's a bit of chlorine in the UK, but nothing like in the US. So I'm telling you, this is not normal. You're being fucked over, you know. And meanwhile, they all encourage you to go like, oh, America, America, we love America. Yeah, we love the USA. We love our US Army. You know, the US military, oh, God save the US military, and that bullshit. And meanwhile, you don't realize that your brain is being erased with this shit, so that literally the only thing you can do is wave an American flag and say, God save America, right? But it's not God save America. It is the Crown Corporation fucking America, okay? Your US military is a Crown Corporation army. It's not, there's nothing US about the US military as much as there's nothing federal about the Federal Reserve, okay? So you are in some massive human experiment over there in US. And number one, stop drinking the fucking tap water. Have it tested and then start reverting back to normal water. You don't need this chlorine in there. You know, you don't need the fluoride. Really, you don't. And try to revert back to natural water. It's serious, guys, because 80% of your cells are made up by water. So whatever you drink will end up in you. It will be you. You will be like, your cells will be like an indoor swimming pool here in Europe, right? So this is super high priority. I mean, talking about genocide, never mind the directed energy weapons, start with the water, guys. And seriously, if you're not campaigning about this, nobody else will, you know? So, you know, you have to protect your children. I don't know what your children drink. Do they all just drink Coca-Cola because nobody can drink the tap water? How does it work? Because here in Europe, children, we don't, you know, I mean, if you're a normal family, unless you're completely fucked up or really, really working class. I've seen working class, you know, people in the UK literally feed juice to their little toddlers as instead of water. This is not normal. In Europe, children drink tap water or mineral water, but tap water is fine, right? Like, I don't know what you do in the US. It's a massive issue. So what this means is that the Crown Corporation has taken over your water supply and is killing you. That's what it means. And then they want to make you buy that really expensive, I even saw Evian in the US, Evian, or however you pronounce it over there. That's like a place in fucking Switzerland, or maybe it's still France. I never know. It's like on the shores of Lake Geneva. So are you telling me that you're importing water from Switzerland or France from Lake Geneva to drink it in the US? Or is it more that that's the brand and then they sell you the non-chlorine fluoride water back to you over there, right? But come on, you have European water brands in the US. Surely you must be one of the most, you know, the countries with the most groundwater, right? So get this shit sorted. It's high priority. You know, I'm not kidding. They are trying to kill you guys. So anyway, there has to be a court case about the drinking water and how it came about that the US got so fucked up compared to Europe. Because the more I see about the US, about your healthcare system, which is ludicrous, about everything, I think you were one, like Australia, you are a crown colony. And they thought because you're over there on the other side of the Atlantic and nobody in old Europe will ever get to know about you, they can do whatever the F they want with you. Because you're just a shitty little colony in their minds, okay? In the minds of the British Crown, you know, and the Vatican Crown. You are nobodies. You're out there, you know, somewhere in the Rockies, you know, or just like in the outback in Australia. That's what the Australians told me. It's like, nobody cares about us. We're so far away. But the Americans think that they're the center of planet Earth. No, you're not. You are a little pod, a little colony by the ancient European powers that go back to the pharaohs. So if your stuff that you have, you know, knocking around in the US is only 200 years old and your oldest buildings are like 300 years old, you are missing thousands and thousands of cartel history. So as far as the cartel is concerned, you're just a shitty little colony. Okay? Sorry, I don't mean to insult you. I'm trying to wake you up. So they are doing experiments with you. Your obesity problem is that, your you know, drinking water stuff is that, and everything that goes with obesity, however you pronounce it. Also diabetes, I bet you that's a cartel program. I bet you that's a cartel program. In fact, if I have the link ready, I can show you it's a cartel program. Hang on, let me just find it. FBI. Oh yes, I found it. So let me just show you. You guys need to see this, especially if you're diabetic, especially if you have type 2 diabetes. You need to see this, guys. This is what I uncovered trying to research what the FBI has about Hitler, okay? And about, you know, most of you by now figured out that Hitler was, you know, I think an illegitimate child of Rothschild, as it said, and was ferreted out. He didn't kill himself. He didn't die, you know, nothing. He just had a happy life in Latin America, being stonkingly rich. So now what I found in the archives, let me share my screen because this is a bombshell. And what you need to know, guys, is that the cartel teaches their children something else. They go to special schools. Mommy and daddy teach them other stuff that we never hear about. So when little cartel kiddies, you know, have done their gang stalking training with the local CIA or BND branch or MI6 and MI5 branch, and, you know, and then I don't know what, high school or maybe cartel university, whatever, they will learn about history and about all these connections. And from what I'm seeing is they are sent to look at certain documents related to cartel history, and there are little clues put everywhere about other stuff for them to find, but such that we normals would never ever find it. We would chance across it maybe, but it would be, even though it's obvious and in our face, we would not have the mindset and we would not put it into the right, you know, category. So I thought, as far as cartel history goes, well, you know, Hitler is a pretty big deal. So when I looked through the FBI files for Hitler, I kind of already was reading it with, you know, the hat of cartel signaling on. So what sort of cartel signaling can I spot? Okay. And this is what I found. And it's a big, big, big bombshell. Okay. So let me share this, and the link will be below after I finish the broadcast. So this is the FBI, the vault.fbi.gov, and then it's /Adolf-Hitler, and then Adolf-Hitler-part-off-04/view. Okay, I just read it out so that there are multiple copies of this URL spoken and shown and everything. Now these are the and I think here, okay, so it was sent to the FBI, right, to different tips about Adolf Hitler being seen. And there's this file on Adolf Hitler, right? The first file, part 1 of 4. And then you can scan through this document, okay? And this document has internal page numbering that's scribbled on. So I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's the 8, page 8, page 9, page 10, and so on. Now, because you're looking for cartel signaling, I thought, let's go down to page 33. Right, Masonic 33. Now, all the other pages are about Hitler, okay? And has he been seen, and where has he been seen, and bloody, 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 blah. Lots of really interesting stuff, right? There's one thing where he's been seen in a compound that's Richie out of a James Bond movie, where the gate opens by itself, and it's very kind of like what you would assume a billionaire would, you know, make his compound to look like. But, you know, let's just skip all that because I want to show you something specific. So now we're down to page 31, and it's still about the Allies and Germans and blah, 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 page 32. And now comes page 33. And this one is special. So again, this page number of the scan is page 68, but that's not important. What is important is what the FBI registered it as, because it's the FBI that is a Crown Corporation outfit. They do cartel signaling. So, you know, they labeled it as page 33, and you will see that page 33 and its content is disconnected from the rest. Okay, even the page layout of these pages is different. The page number is up there, right, in the corners, cut off. Here, the page numbering is down there. And now what you need to do, hang on, how can I zoom into this? Let's do it like this. Okay, this works now. So this is an article, and it says, so it's a scanned article in the Adolf Hitler files. It says, winning fight against diabetes. Huh, what has diabetes to do with Adolf Hitler being cited in Latin America? Huh, what's that? Now also notice how these two chemical vials have been arranged to make the sign of the cross. And the X, as in the toppled cross, is a satanic sign. Again, another Masonic sign here. So, this is on page 33. So page 33 is the FBI's cartel signaling. This article itself has cartel signaling, right? And it's diabetes in the Hitler file of the FBI. Okay, there we go. Now, let's just read the first thing, right? I only have to read the first two paragraphs and you will know what I'm talking about. And it reads, at last, thanks to a simple chemical called alloxan, the mystery of that murderous and baffling disease, diabetes, is well on its way toward ultimate solution. Diabetes kills some 37,000 persons yearly, and its victims are 4 times greater in number than those crippled by infantile paralysis. Okay, so we're going back to the 1940s, 1930s maybe here with this article. Okay, fair enough. It was still time to develop, you know, insulin and all the stuff. But now read this. Alloxan is the open sesame to the enigma, to the enigma of diabetes. With it, researchers have for the first time a simple experimental method of giving diabetes to the usual laboratory animals. Now, alloxan, this wondrous, you know, chemical, right, is not curing it, it is giving it. Alloxan gives diabetes to creatures, okay? And now remember that this is the Hitler file, and we're talking about fucking Nazis. And we also are talking about fucking Nazis being ferreted out of Germany through the Jesuit lines, put on ships, and then, you know, flown or on ship, you know, shipped across to the United States. By whom? Well, by another batch of fucking Nazis. So we're talking about Nazi Central here. And Nazi Central, aka the FBI, has a little fake file on Hitler where on page 33 they put in an article from the 1930s or 40s or whenever, you know, with satanic cross symbolism. And it's about diabetes. So we're going right deep into the heart of Nazism here, okay? So when you're among Nazis, read this again. So with this, with alloxan, researchers have for the first time a simple experimental method of giving diabetes to the usual laboratory animals. Now, what would that be if you're talking among Nazis? Well, it's humans, isn't it? Those were the usual laboratory animals that Dr. Mengele did all his experiments on. It was humans. So they're talking about a compound that can give diabetes to animals. This was in the 1940s. And then magically in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s today, the rate of type 2 diabetes, which is somehow magically another type of diabetes, that's not type 1 diabetes, that is completely different, but like diabetes, has exploded. Could it have possibly been that alloxan has been renamed, and we know it now as a different chemical, and it's giving us diabetes, but not original genetic diabetes, it's giving us fake diabetes? I mean, could alloxan has been, for example, renamed aspartame or something else? I'm not saying it is, but sounds similar, kinda. What other chemical could it have been? What chemical is really prevalent and would be perfect to give an entire population type 2 diabetes? Meanwhile, the CIA is driving everybody to eat a lot, right? By just obsessiveness. And then they can say, oh yes, the diabetes must be because of your overeating. No, the diabetes must be to do with the FBI being fucking Nazis, having worked with Nazis, advertising under cartel signaling how you can give diabetes to human beings. To whom are they advertising? Well, to the cartel kiddies who have to know, who are learning, who are being recruited, right? Their cartel university teacher at MIT or Harvard or Oxford or Cambridge can't say, oh, you know what, lesson number 4, how to give a population diabetes. For this, your reading assignment is the Hitler FBI file. No, this is not how it works. It's all with winks and secret handshakes and secret code. So if any of these people are spied on, eavesdropped on, nobody would be the wiser. So you are going on a history assignment to learn about evil Hitler. And then they say, oh, you might like to check out that file the FBI has. Your little cartel kiddie, 33. Check page 33. You go there and you're like, oh, this assignment has fuck all to do with Hitler because we know that Hitler was a Rothschild, so no news there. Move along, citizen. This assignment is about finding out how we are giving the population, as in we the Masons, as in Vatican Intel, how we are giving the people diabetes who are not insiders. Understand? And then if you realize that, for example, the monster drinks, do you know the monster drinks? They must probably contain a lot of aspartame, don't they? I mean, Coca-Cola and Pepsi Light and all this sort of stuff. But let me just find the monster drinks. Monster drinks. I hope you can still see my screen. These guys, this is what I'm looking for. Monster Energy. Now, people who are analyzing cartel signaling and are much better than I will ever be, pointed out that this thing, I think it's Hebrew numbers, and it's 666 or something like that. Okay, 666, and then you've got this weird symbol there as well, right? So taurine and ginseng. Okay, now if you have something marked quite clearly 666, and you have taught your cartel kiddies to watch out for alloxan, and you maybe in another lesson teach them what it's called these days, maybe aspartame. I hope I pronounced it correctly. I think that's the compound I'm looking for anyway. Fill in the gaps, but the stuff that they put into all these soft drinks, and it would be a compound that maybe goes straight to the brain, which I think aspartame does. Could it be, and I'm not alleging anything, I'm just hypothesizing here, could it be that then you would mark all the soft drinks with cartel signaling so that your cartel kiddies know when they're on a night out to stay well clear of those energy drinks, because they are for the normals, for us, because we're the usual lab animals? If a system was set up like that, would it work? Oh yeah, fuck yeah. Because if you have been taught, the Hebrew numbers, and I'm not referring to the Jewish community specifically here, by the way, because the Masons will have known all about this, all about the Kabbalah and all about this and that. So this is universal, right? I'm also including Chinese Masons and Japanese Masons. So this is not just the Jewish people, this is everybody. But when you have been taught what 666 looks like and different, ways of writing it, and you see a can like that and it kind of looks scary, you'll be like, oh no, I'll go with a bottle of, I don't know, Chateau Lafite from the Rothschilds maybe instead. Thank you very much. No idea, but the system must work somehow like that. So they have a two-tiered society, and they would be scattering the clues, and us normals are none the wiser, and the people inside the cartels stay healthy, they are not affected, and so on. Okay, so I think this is how it works. So when I discovered this thing, the Hitler file, and with this stuff in, I was like, oh, fucking hell. Now I understand. Type 2 diabetes goes like that. I think type 1 diabetes goes like that. I think I have to check, but I always thought that that's kind of like a genetic thing. You're born with it, so that stays the same. But type 2 diabetes is something you get from external factors or your own eating, as they allege. Now, if they all allege it's to do with your own eating, you can bet your guts it's nothing to do with your own eating. It probably has something to do with what they put in your food, just because they keep pathologically lying. That's why, you know, like what was his name? Casey, the CIA's Casey, who said, well, we will know that our program is complete when 70% or 80% of what the American public believes is wrong. Okay, so if the media are pumping out that, oh, you can control type 2 diabetes with your diet, I bet you can't. You can control it by avoiding the stuff where they put in the compound that gives you diabetes. I think this is the way around it should go. So anyway, this was my research discovery. And when I saw that, I was like, fucking hell, 2 lessons. Number 1, this is really how the cartel is working. They are kind of guiding, you know, people to pick up information and put it together in a different way, assemble information a different way than we assemble it. We think that file is about Hitler, but the cartel insiders know what happened to Hitler. They don't need to be told. So the FBI file on Hitler is probably just all hokum. So the important thing in that file is something else. And when you have something like a compound like Aloxan, you can invest in big pharma, and then you will, you know, earn absolutely billions and trillions curing these people with type 2 diabetes. Now that's something the cartel kiddies need to know, so that they know what to invest in. Get it? Get it? So, okay, this is one thing. Now, there's more. Okay, so this was a bit of research. Now, onto the news, current affairs. Now, in current affairs, I've got some nuggets for you. Let me just check the audio one more time. So this was a bit of... Okay. So, oh my God, I have broken through the sound barrier because there are over 200 people watching now. And this is what YouTube tells me. So they manipulated down by a factor of 10, typically, you know, at least. And hi guys, hello everybody for watching. I hope I made this worth your while. So, you know, the lessons we've learned so far is, if you're a victim, get your tick box affidavit in. If you're an expert witness, get your expert testimonies to me ASAP. You know, my website is up. You know what to do now. If you have a website, export it, so that, you know, WordPress can't fuck you over, or your other hosters can't fuck you over by just shutting off access and stuff like that. Export your website now as if you had to migrate it today, so that, you know, you are prepared for this corruption. And then we've just learned that if you're super fat, stop the fucking diet drinks, because most likely they will contain Aloxan, and instead look for the chips on your head, because you're being driven to unusual obsessive behavior. Like I was driven to spend 2 weeks crying for no reason. Okay, eating for no reason is pretty much the same as crying for no reason, right? So it's something to do with the chip implants under your scalp, most likely, or maybe in some other glands on your stomach, who knows. But it's you know, wherever the chips are, there will be also ones on your head. So these are the lessons so far. Now on to the current affairs. So I have some little golden nuggets for you, which I hope you will be interested in. So I would like to take you straight to the UK. Okay, and remember, when I take you to the UK, if you are in Germany, anywhere in the Commonwealth or the United Kingdom, you think, oh, you don't think, oh, it's just some little country on the other side of the planet. No. You think, oh, we're going now into the heart of the Death Star. All right, we're going to the colonial motherland, to the HQ of the Crown Corporation, well, the local branch in Britain, the HQ is in Switzerland, right? So that's where we're going. So if you're in the US, I am talking about stuff that will affect you by proxy, even though it doesn't look like it. So pay attention, guys, and there will be a test afterwards. So let me share my screen and let me point out the following things. So this is the YouTube channel of the Supreme Court, and it is super important. It is important, especially for people in the UK, but it's also important for people in the US, because these people in the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom are actually your masters. They are your slave owners, even though they personally might not think about it like that either, because they too haven't really understood how the system works. If they had, they would know that, for example, the logo of the Supreme Court, which is here even in a strip format, spells out 666, right? And you can either go by the flowers or you can go by the leaves, but it's 666, whichever way you look at it, okay? So not that obvious if you've never dealt with the cartel, pretty freaking obvious when you have. And you can also tell that the flowers are tracing out a triangle, right? Just so happens. But anyway, now more substantial stuff that is super important. First of all, I would like all of you to get to know the judges, all of you, even if you're in the US and you think you should only get to know the US judges. Oh, no, 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 no. Because what's going to come down the pipe over the next 10 years will involve the UK as well, and the UK Supreme Court. So you should better get to know these people. Now, I got to know most of the people who are here. I got to know everybody who was there a few years ago, because I spent my time watching the Supreme Court all day, every day. I was also trying to build a business, but the Supreme Court was running live every time they had a hearing, okay? So I kind of got to know the personalities of everybody and what they were like and all this sort of stuff, okay? So there are some people who now retired. For example, there was I have to tell you the story now that I talk about the Supreme Court, because one of my favorite people on the old guard, right, of the Supreme Court was actually a guy called Lord Neuberger, right? Now, Lord Neuberger was, what's it called again? It's like the head of the house, okay? So the master of the rolls, that's what I'm looking for, the master of the rolls, okay? So the person who rolls the show, sort of thing. So they have these sort of little titles, but he's kind of the gang leader, okay? And as judges, they're individual, but I think he's got administrative tasks, so he's the head honcho, if you like. Now, when Lord Neuberger was the master of rolls, he used to sit in the middle of every hearing where he was also a judge, so he sat in the middle. So all the cameras, typically would kind of show him right at the center. And Lord Neuberger had this habit of, when he really absolutely thought it was either when he got bored or when he got tired, but mostly bored, because these guys are, you can't tire them. They can listen to law for decades, So when Lord Neuberger got bored or thought that the argument was really shit and he stopped giving a fuck, although he wouldn't have put it like that personally, he started sliding down his chair like this, okay? And the worse it got, the further Lord Neuberger was down, okay, in his chair. And eventually it was just, two bushy eyebrows above the edge of the desk that you could see, right? And I used to call this the Neuberger gauge when I watched, okay? Because you just had to look at the guy in the middle when it was Lord Neuberger, and from how high he was in his seat, you could tell how the court case was going, right? So I would have advised, had I, been able to speak to the barristers at the time, right? If you see Lord Neuberger go down, like, as soon as you start seeing like something like 20 centimeters of the back of the chair above his head, change your strategy, change your argument, speed up. You're either too slow or you're boring him out of his mind with your argument, or you're talking literally tosh that he's not buying anymore, right? So you need to change your strategy. So that's the Neuberger gauge, okay? It was brilliant. And I think the lowest I ever saw the Nuremberg gauge was when I think it was this case with some 19 Saudi princes suing each other. Okay, or the 18 are suing one, something. But it was just total hukum. This is what it looked like to me. And Lord Neuberger, I think, also seemed to think the same way. But I literally thought if the court case continues, there will be only a muffled voice from under the table, you know, because he would have dipped down completely. But anyway, they all have their own personal expertise. For example, Lord Neuberger was special because he had science training. He was a chemist before he became a lawyer. Okay, so some of them had a life before the law. This is super important because that gives you an idea about how the world works, you know. So, but there are no people who were economists or bankers before, right? So, you know, they probably don't know that much, right? So they need help when they have to make these decisions. Now, you need to get to know these people as well as I got to know these people. Okay, so because they're important. And what I want to point out, I mean, number one, just dip your toe into it, because what you see on the YouTube channel are the reading out of the judgments. It's just 7 minutes. Let it run. The first, you know, 50 times you're listening to this, it won't make any sweet bit of sense of what these people are talking about. But after a while, you get into the lingo and you can actually understand what they're saying. Okay. But every single case that they have decided, this is the Supreme Court, will change lives. It will change the course of history. It will change the UK forever. That's why you need to know about this stuff. Okay? So this is one of the very important places. And I love the fact that the judgments are on YouTube. I love the fact that all the court cases are broadcast live. This is a gold mine. Okay? And my approach is not to just hate the judges or think they're all criminals. My approach is to really get to know the judges, understand them, find out how they think, to find out if they are corrupt or if they just have not been given the information, and then find the criminals, because there will be some. Okay. Hey, I was stalked by a Supreme Court judge, right? So I'm the first one to say that there's corruption. And remember, Scalia, Justice Antonin Scalia in the United States, right? So the cartel will have its hands, of course, in the Supreme Court, because those are the people it needs to control the most. So these people will have, you know, their head in a noose, in a cartel noose all the time, right? If their head could not be, you know, pushed into a noose, they would not make it to the Supreme Court, right? So they either have to have control files, or the cartel thinks that they are deciding in the cartel's favor anyway, or they all have chips on their head and MI6 already knows that they can mind control them to come to the right decision. Something, there has to be something, okay? There has to be something, because there are less than 15 judges and the cartel has trillions. So it will throw anything it has at these judges. The reason why this is important is because if we're talking targeting, these people will have either subtly experienced it as a threat, or if they step out of line, they will. All right. So also their pets, also their loved ones will suddenly start to have heart attacks and will start to die. Right. That's why it's so important. So when we're approaching these, you know, control organs, I want you to go a step up and not to just think, oh, they're all criminals. No, we need to find the criminals and they need to be taken out of the system. And the people who are honest and are maybe just clueless need to be woken up. They need to be given information. And those people of high integrity need to be protected with everything we have, because they are our lifeline. They can decide the course of history in our favor. So any judge that is of integrity and is being attacked, we need to protect them. They need to know about targeting. They need to know what to do. They need to know what this is, right? If they're coming to the wrong decision or have written a draft of a judgment that is not what the cartel wants. And these people start having nightmares. They need to know that it's their eye implants, and MI6 is broadcasting anything up to snuff movies they've recorded onto their eye implants and stuff like that. Okay, so this is why it's so important that everything, all of us in society, we start coming together. We will be all on the same page, and we will know how to shut down the biggest organized crime cartel in the world, because we need to do it fast. And these people will play an integral role, okay? And the High Court people and the Court of Appeal people, but you know what I'm saying, okay? So that's why these guys are important. Now, one of the things I would like to point you to, there are two things to dip your toe into this. Number one is the one down here. This is the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions versus MM, who's a respondent, okay? I want you to listen to this video. It's only 6 minutes long. And I will now explain to you how I understood this video, okay? And I looked at it and I thought, oh, it's a new girl, okay, on the Supreme Court. Now, first of all, you need to know who these people are. You can go to the supremecourt.uk website and you will find under the section about the Supreme Court, the biographies of the judges. So there's Lady Hale. I'll talk about her a bit more, right? So note Lady Hale, blue. I'm not saying there's cartel signaling, just note Lady Hale wearing a blue top, and there's something pinned to her right side, okay? This will be relevant later. Now here's all the others, Lord Reed, Lord Kerr, and so on. Is a lot of men, but now with the new judges who have been hired recently, there is now 2 more women. So Lady Black and then Lady Arden. And this, before there was only Lady Hale and I think 11 or 12 male judges. Okay, it's like, man, this is less than 10% women. Where the fuck are all the women? Okay, now this is where the women are. They are slowly migrating up. There are now 2 more women, so it has increased by 200% more women on the Supreme Court, which is good. Okay, still not what it should be, right? I mean, if you integrate it over the entire British judiciary and you tell me you just found 2 women who are up to scratch, really? You can't find any more by looking really hard? Okay, but anyway, work in progress. So anyway, so Lady Arden and Lady Black, Lady Black and Lady Hale, these 2 people. So first of all, I would like you to listen to Lady Black here, reading out. She's wearing a black top, so you can see Lady Black there. This is now very important because it is about the disability benefits, okay? And just listen to this, and it was about the entitlement for disability, and then listen to the judgment. Because I swear, when I listen to this, the judgment seemed to be like, okay, it's about the entitlement of certain, disabled people, or, people really desperately need social financial support, through social insurance. And do they qualify or not? This is very topical in Britain because there has been a genocide of the disabled people. 120,000 disabled people died because of austerity, which we know is a financial scam and doesn't exist. Okay, because the money is created in computers. It is a number digitally created that nobody had to do anything if it's now this number or that number. So by just, playing with the numbers, they murdered 120,000 disabled people who were reliant on society to be able to live their life and have, an income, because they couldn't earn an income. That is a fucking Holocaust. So this judgment here is about the fucking Holocaust. And it was about, oh, does this particular person have entitlement or not? Well, that particular person maybe would survive without it, but it is the template for thousands and thousands of others who maybe do not. So it is a life and death decision. It is, do we have genocide or do we not have a genocide of the disabled people? And you read this judgment, it completely cuts out this background, and it's the blandest thing. And what I saw was that, you know, the judgment of the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom was, does this person have entitlement under these certain conditions? And the judgment is, it depends. As a general principle, it depends. And with that, they send it back to the High Court. And you're like, oh, I was like, well, I don't think this is what the taxpayer spent all that money, you know, paying you guys in the Supreme Court for you to just look at it and go like, oh yeah, it depends, but the High Court decided. Because you introduce a delay and thousands will die. All right, thousands of disabled people will be murdered in this live running fucking Holocaust, and you're sending it back to the High Court instead of just saying yes, and so has now been given right or been given wrong, and da 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 da. You've just obfuscated the entire fucking thing, and there's a genocide running, and we really can't be dealing with this shit. So these were my thoughts when I, you know, for the very first time ever saw Lady Bag read out that judgment. And in the back of my head, I kept thinking, you know, if I learned one thing about how the Masonic, as in mostly male at the top, crime cartel works, is that when they have real shit going down, they push the women to the front as their attack dogs, or as their kind of their cover, because the women will not be attacked quite the same way, they hope, or I don't know, because the women are, you know, disposable. That's why. Who gives a shit if the women are shot out of the sky, right? You have to protect the brotherhood, you know, the fellowship of the cock, right? So if you don't have a cock, there's nothing to protect here. So as soon as I first read it, I was like, what? This is ridiculous. And then I thought, as a new female judge in a mostly male Supreme Court, you have been picked to write this judgment. I think this is the worst opening judgment you could be reading out in the history of the universe. And then it's like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, they picked the woman to read out the worst judgment in the history of the universe, the new woman. Oh, I get it. Yeah, probably Lady Black was, you know, really fucked over by the guys, you know, by the Masons. Yeah, okay, then I understand what went down there. But just listen to it and just make up your own mind. These are my own personal thoughts, my reaction to reading that. And I just thought, when I listened to that, I mean, first of all, you first listen to it and you're like, what? And then you listen to it again. You have to force yourself to stay awake for 6 minutes to even have a chance to understand what they're talking about. And then you understand, and then you think, and that's it? I worked so hard to understand that you say, oh yeah, it depends. So, no, I don't think this is why a case went through the High Court and the Court of Appeal to land on your desk for you to say, oh yeah, it depends, no idea, let's send it back to the High Court. So what? No, there's something else. So that is typically a telltale signs for some really big shenanigans under the bonnet, where they just want to keep it as like gray as they possibly can, so nobody understands that under the bonnet it is turmoil, big, you know, heaving, you know, changes to the history, the course of history, right? Or mass genocide maybe. But please listen to it and please give me your view on this. But I don't, it was weird like fuck. So anyway, I want to show you something else that's weird like fuck. And as always, let's just be, you know, discerning, and let's not jump to conclusions. But this one here are on the application of Miller versus the Prime Minister and others versus the Advocate General for Scotland. Okay, so this is 15 minutes, so twice as long as the others. And this is read out by Lady Hale. Now, I am not sure if I'm even allowed to play this because the footage belongs to the Supreme Court, and I don't know, maybe you get the death penalty by violating their copyright. So I'm just going to show you still images as an introduction for you to know what you're looking at. So this is the panel of judges, and what's also interesting is there are 7 here. So they filled the house to read out these judgments, or this judgment rather. Okay, so this is the link, and here's a short description, and you'll find this court case also on the Supreme Court website. But it's very unusual if they have 7 judges. Typically they have 3, Okay, so this is a big decision. So what this is about, it's to do with Brexit. Okay. And it's Brexit and the prime minister, and it's about suspending parliament and all this sort of stuff. Okay. Now here, I'm not even going to bias your opinion because it's so topical. I will just let you listen to the judgment, and I will not comment on the content of the judgment at all. I don't want to bias you, so you just listen to the judgment. You might be pro-Brexit or contra-Brexit, whatever. The content of the judgment will not be commented on by me at all. I want to comment on other stuff, okay? I want to jump here, and I want to point out that we have a judgment being read out by Lady Hale, very experienced, you know, has been the first woman on the Supreme Court, the only woman for a very, very long time until recently. Okay, so something like a minimum of, I think, 8 or 9 years. She was the only woman on the Supreme Court, and she reads out something that is a make or break thing, make or Brexit thing, you know, stay or Brexit. And it's to do with suspending parliament. So very topical. The entire nation, or those people who know about the Supreme Court, might be watching. They certainly are not, but they might be. And then Lady Hale reads out this judgment with a massive spider on herself. I was like, whoa, what the? Okay. Now, do you know, you are aware that Britain has been called the spider in the web, right? Because the British Empire is running, you know, is centered around London. So this and the spider in the web is not a new term. There has been actually a documentary which you can find on YouTube about the British Empire called The Spider, I mean, at the center of the web or something like that, right? Now, this choice of brooch is unfortunate, to say the least, but maybe it's not unfortunate. Maybe it is cartel signaling, right? Maybe it is. Maybe Lady Hale is Eastern Star. Maybe she knows about the ways of the cartel, and that's why she has been able to become the first ever woman Supreme Court judge. If she does, I mean, fuck me. You have to really analyze this, right? Comb through it with a fine comb. But this is massive, okay? It is the most, I mean, the most watched decision, right, of this current time. And she has a massive spider on her shoulder. I mean, when I look at it, if it were cartel signaling, what might it say? It might say, oh, well, you know, while I'm reading this out smiling, I actually have the cartel sitting on my shoulder telling me what to say, right? It would almost equate to a cry for help. And she's saying, I have to read this out. Please don't execute me. I have to do it because they threaten my family. That's what it could say. Or it could be the jeering version of this of, hey, fuck you guys, we're the cartel. Look, the spider's here happily sitting on my shoulder. I'm reading this out. Fuck you guys. The British Empire, the cartel, the cabal is going to succeed and you guys will go down. That could also be the message. So I just thought, oh my God. I mean, if you wanted to keep it low key, you could have taken any other brooch, right? I mean, this is even worse than having a monarch butterfly on your shoulder. Now, the one thing you need to know about Lady Hale, though, and that's what I wanted to show you, is that Lady Hale always has creepy crawlies on her dress, right? Here's another one where I will show you an image, a still image there. Oh, no, actually, this is a leaf, but the leaf seems to have creepy crawlies on. Okay, but I watched the Supreme Court for a very long time. And, oh, here, it's actually some dial. So this is strange. So she seemed to have changed in recent history what she has as a brooch, but she always has a massive brooch. And throughout the, you know, year and a half that I watched the Supreme Court, it was always creepy crawlies. So, you know, of different type. Maybe I can find another Lady Hale one. Oh yeah, here she's got another insect. Here you can see whatever it's called in English. Firefly, or what do you call it? You know what I mean? So all I wanted to say is that the size of this brooch and the style of having insects and stuff like that is normal. That's what she does all the time. It might be just her personal style. She just might just like it. And then it's okay. And then it's just very unfortunate that the day she read out the Brexit hearing, she wasn't wearing a firefly. She was wearing a big fat spider, which typically is, you know, code for the cartel, right? And it was just maybe just unfortunate. But I don't know. I just can't believe that you can get to the Supreme Court, especially a woman of her generation, without being an insider, without daddy having been an insider, or mommy, or the family, or at least an uncle. You know, come on, you need to have at least an uncle being a handler, you know, something. But I want you guys to look at this, and I want the people who understand the law much better than me to look at what the content was. I'm just pointing out these things, okay? So these are the things you need to know. Now, let me switch to some faster news. So I've gone through the Supreme Court. There are, oh, actually one thing you need to know regarding the cartel. If you are new to what all this and you're wondering what the hell has London got to do with the cartel, I encourage you, there's a very good documentary, and I found a short form of this. The full version is called The Ring of Power, okay? And the original is 4 hours per episode, and it has several episodes. And it's the investigation about the city of London and its connections to Washington, D.C. and all this sort of stuff, okay? But there is an 8-minute version of this, which is the Ring of Power intro, the 101 to the N, the New World Order, okay? And you should really watch this as a quick guide. And this is just 8 minutes, okay? So that is very important so that we are all on the same page, because the research that went into this documentary is, I mean, back in its time when it was made, was phenomenal. I think it was made way before the internet, and it really spills the beans of what we're dealing with, okay? So it's very, very important. Now, the other thing I want to point out is that there has been a new article on Zerohedge, which is big, because Zerohedge is read by all the people in finance and, you know, everywhere. So this is big, 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 you know, news. And the Zerohedge article reads, the scariest thing you'll read all day. Haha, I don't think it's all day. I think it's all year. Okay. Now, the report sounds alarm over brain reading technology and neurocapitalism. Neurocapitalism. Okay. Now, authored by Jessica Corbett via commondreams.org. Okay. Now, read this article. It's I think this is an advert here. Sorry, this is a Migros Bank advert. And it's about an algorithm that can decode words from brain activity in real time. You know, the people who have voice to skull and say that voice to skull responds to their inner thoughts. Well, here it is, you know, brain computer interfaces that can pick up thoughts directly from neurons and translate them into words. Okay. So this is the technology, right? And also Samuel interviewed neuroethicist Marcello Jenka, a researcher at ETH Zurich, okay, who published a 2017 paper detailing 4 human rights for neurotechnology. Okay, now one of the things I would like to comment on is, can you see how these neuroethicists are springing out from, you know, up from the ground like mushrooms after rain? Neuroethicist, I mean, since when can you have tenure or a research position at ETH Zurich in neuroethics? What the fuck? You have science. This is a technical university. Since when do you have neuroethicists? So I personally think this is bullshit. The neuroethicists are planted intelligence agents. That's what I think. That's what Dr. James Giordano is in my books. He's an intel agent. Right? Dr. James Giordano, who gave the talk about, you know, the mind is the new battlefield. You will find him online. He's a neuroethicist. I mean, what the fuck? That's not a research position. That's not a fucking research position. Come on, at a, you know, at a high-flying university near SSS. Come on. You know, this is a newfangled, newly created, you know, chair or position, which is a fucking cover. That's what it is. So when people come with their ethics problems or, you know, victims, Giordano said he's being approached by thousands of victims every day. Yeah, because they go to him, flock to him, thinking he's an ethicist, trying to point this out. But guys, he isn't. It's a front. It's a front position. These guys know what's going on. If they didn't know what's happening, they couldn't be neuroethicists. So by definition, they're fucking cartel insiders, guys. Okay, all these neuroethics positions, whoa, keep the fuck away, in my view, you know. But anyway, so this guy, so now decoding this neuroethicist at a technical university at Zurich. I mean, ETH Zurich is not so much into philosophy and ethics. Okay, so what's a neuroethicist doing there? Now, so in other words, in my books, without knowing the guy, I would assume he's an intel agent. So an intel agent published a paper in 2017 detailing our human rights. Well, no, thank you very much. I think we have our human rights, and we just don't want the fucking bullshit that DARPA and ETH Zurich and all these other motherfuckers are pumping out to make a profit. We already have our human rights. They're very well defined. And putting shit in our brain and then jacking one off over raping us, for example, or reading our thoughts, most fucking certainly violate our human rights. And you don't even need a new chair for neuroethics to know that. So what this is, and it's the conduit to set up a legitimization of this technology. Do you understand? After they spent all this money brain maiming you and brain fucking you, they want to make it legitimate so that they will not have to pay compensation. That's what it's about. Okay. And in this, like in my books, fake intelligence says, oh, I'm very concerned about the commercialization of brain data in the consumer market. Well, are you going to write an expert testimony? Are you going to launch a court case? Oh, fuck no. You are raking in money by the institution that is commercializing it. So, right? If this neuroethicist first has to question the ethics of his employers, is he going to do that? Fuck no, right? So anyway, and here's another Vox.com saying brain reading tech is coming. The law is not ready to protect us. Bullshit, motherfuckers. That's not what it is. The law is ready to protect us. If the law were applied, you guys would have been shut down for Mengele style science 40, 60 years ago. The real problem we have is that the law is not applied because some fucking Masons are planted in the judiciary. The FBI is pretty much 100% Nazi, by the Nazis, for the Nazis, staffed with Nazis, and is supporting targeting, which is the brain maiming research to go into this tech. That's the real story. So the law would be protecting us if it were ever applied, but for that it needs judges and it needs police, and they both seem to be criminals. I mean, on average, right? I mean, by the work they've done over the last few decades. That's the problem. So anyway, good article, good job for getting it into the attention of the, the financial people, but they know because they fucking funded this, right? So, okay, Zerohedge whistleblowing site, great article, but again, it doesn't mention the thousands and thousands of victims. So again, it is meant to be a whistleblowing, but it comes out as spinning it in their fucking favor. And why is this guy from ETH Zurich paid by the fucking abusers, interviewed for this, and not a single target? That's what I don't understand. What the fuck is that about? What do we have to do to be interviewed when it's about stuff that is already affecting us? Right? That's what fucking pisses me off about all these articles, no matter how good they are. Why the fuck does it not mention that people are being literally brain mutilated to fucking death in the most torturous way possible just for ETH Zurich to get a fucking grant from the Swiss military working straight for the cabal? That's what I want to know. Why has it not made it into the article? You know, that's what pisses me off. And we don't have time, guys, to be mucking around. So if you put in a whistleblowing article, make it count. Mention the genocide. Mention the people like me who literally struggle to walk because ETH Zurich is human trafficking me. It is just down the road. So who the fuck do you think is using my data? Right? Who the fuck is this neuroethicist referring to? Why was I not questioned? Why was I not interviewed? I mean, okay, I'm getting a bit angry about this, but you know, do you see what I mean? None of these articles mentioned the fucking established fact that people are being brain mutilated and tortured to death for fucking global genocide. And on the other side of the genocide, there will be only two types of people: the ones who are cartel members and their little degenerate, you know, offspring who have the brain chips connected to the internet so that they don't have to learn how to do maths. The computer will do it for them, right? Because they're so fucking degenerate. Their mother was a honeypot, their father was a fucking crook, right? You really need all the enhancement you can get for the little kiddies. They'll get it. The rest of the people with natural talent who could actually push humanity further will be brain-mained by MI6 and CIA, as they are now are being now, because you can't have geniuses. They're too clever. They're gonna topple the cart, right? And that's why Gareth Williams was murdered by MI6. That's why Aaron Schwartz was murdered by the CIA. That's why John Nash was murdered by the CIA, right? Some of our best math geniuses murdered, publicly executed, as a matter of fact. Anybody with half a brain can see that they were publicly executed. So what they did is, for all the people with brains, as in the other geniuses floating around, they were like, oh shit, they're killing geniuses, right? I'll be next. So this is really important, guys. So read up about this, follow this stuff. That's another link for you to follow. This shit matters, and we're running out of time. Now, other links. I've got a few more that I need to get through. So very quickly, some more news you need to know about. Good news. The FBI, it's now turned out, the FBI misused surveillance data spied on its own. FISA ruling fines. I mean, I was like, fuck me, the FISA found criminality. I mean, they were rubber stamping criminality so far. So what the hell happened? Contractors looked up relatives. Data was used to vet agents, sources in the US. Okay. So this is hot off the press. Oh no, sorry, no, this is 2018, but this is now hot off the press, 8th of October 2019. In an October 2018 ruling unsealed and posted on October 8th, 2019 by the Office of the Director of Intelligence, the United States Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court found that the employees of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, as in the Nazis who posted the Adolf Hitler file about Aloxan that gives everybody diabetes, them motherfuckers, okay, had inappropriately used the data collected under Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA. The FBI was found to have misused surveillance data to look into American residents, including other FBI employees and their family members, making large-scale queries that did not distinguish between US persons and foreign intelligence targets. Well, is that a fucking surprise? The people who work with the CIA and have ferreted out Adolf fucking Hitler and have given Joseph Mengele a fucking cushy job in the US and in Canada, those people used an freely available software platform to spy on their family members and their loved ones and others. Oh my God, I'm so shocked. Yeah, duh. I mean, okay, thank fuck this turned out, but my God, we are, when will these people catch the fuck up, you know, and look at the Adolf Hitler files and Aloxan and all this sort of stuff? I mean, it's like watching paint dry. you know. But anyway, so we've caught up, and now it's established that the FBI did a lot of this shit. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, if you know the most fundamental rules of systems analysis, I could have told them this. I could have even calculated how many would have done this, how often per week, right? And I can tell them what else they would have done with this. I mean, of course, we know from the victims that the FBI is human trafficking the American people. That's their job, okay? So when my former colleague, Dr. Millicent Black, was told by either police officer or an FBI officer, I can't remember, the FBI knows whose chips are on, right? It meant the FBI is running the human trafficking. You're chipped like cattle and the FBI is trafficking you. The FBI decides if you end up super obese in that experimental stream, or you end up brain mutilated, or you end up homeless. They decide what to do with you. They are your human traffickers. And then these people are now like, oh, the human traffickers, they spied on people. Using the software they built to spy on people, they spied on people with that. Wow. Fucking wow, right? But anyway, we've got it now. So yeah, look at this. Yeah, and the FBI ran so many searches and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh my God, yeah, we know all this. We know all this, but we know so much more. The FBI is fucking gangbanging people in their own home using their chip implants in their genitals. They are taking turn sport fucking Americans. Will that make it into this article before doomsday? You know, the FBI is machine gunning people to death in their own home. The FBI followed me into every fucking hotel in the United States and machine gunned me. Okay? I had to change my room. That is the reality, people. Okay? I even ended up in a hotel room, and because I went on the cheapest way possible to the United States. I didn't have much luggage. I didn't have, massive layers of sheet metal with me, right? And I couldn't purchase any in the local DIY store. So I ended up in this hotel defenseless, trying to sleep at night, and the FBI machine gunned me so hard, I was desperate. At some point, I literally thought, I'm going to take out the shelves from the fridge and I will sit in the fridge trying to sleep. And I just thought, if the door closes, I'm going to suffocate if I've already fallen asleep. So I was like, no. In the end, I had to hang off a huge mirror on the wall where I was hoping it's at least traces of silver in the back and not just spray painted alu. And I lifted a massively heavy mirror over myself on the double bed in the hotel room, and I slept under the massive mirror, thinking if this shit falls down and breaks, I don't give a fuck. That's the reality. The FBI is murdering people. Yes, of course, they use the platform to spy on everybody, but they also used it to spy on fit women they like and the fit women's children and traffic them both. That's what we're talking about, okay? And as long as it doesn't make it into these articles are worthless because we are talking about chicken shit. And actually, by the way, chicken shit is a word that has been subliminally used in my head. They really wanted me to use this word, and I can see why, because it fits. I think they use it in the US, probably in the US military quite a lot. Do they use chicken shit? I would guess so. This is what it is, okay? This is, you've got a massive genocide rolling along, people not just having this funky brain reading technology, people being literally tortured to death, begging the police to help them, and the police is part of it. The police everywhere in the Western world is supporting the mass murder today. Greater Manchester police is supporting it. Canton Zurich police is supporting it. The Bundeskriminalamt in Germany is supporting mass murder. The Metropolitan Police London is supporting this genocide, and the FBI in the US is supporting this genocide. That's the real story. the FISA court shit, it's like, come on, guys. This was news 20 years ago. We're so past that, it's ridiculous. If you bring it up and explain to people how they're using this spying on their relatives to traffic their relatives. Explain it to people, because otherwise they would never guess. And unless you explain it, you are covering up really important shit, you know? So, oh God. I can't be bothered to just keep talking about this shit. I can't wait for them to catch up. Okay, so now I'm gonna wrap it up now, but I'm gonna, you know, show you a few more things quickly. Other hot off the press news from the same day: British operatives try to capture the wife of a CIA station chief after Barr, so Attorney General Barr, demands Spygate information. Okay, I'm mildly surprised that the son of a CIA agent called Barr demands information and, you know, and Spygate, but yeah, maybe we can still have hope. So when you read the article, okay, it's about an MI5 operation. Okay, an MI5 operation. So, okay, here, a classified of special importance, heavily redacted new Foreign Intelligence Service report circulated in the Kremlin today states that British Secret Services, MI5, an operation by MI5 to capture and imprison for blackmail purposes the wife of the Central Intelligence Agency station chief to the United Kingdom failed when she was flown out of the UK under United States diplomatic cover. An MI5 operation began on 27th of August when a motorcycle ridden by British teenager Harry Dunn inexplicably veered in front of a car being driven by former US State Department official Anne Sakulas, near immediately after she left an RAF base in North Hampshire. Okay. Read this. It's interesting. And note these things about motorcycles inexplicably veering. Right? The remote control of vehicles that all of the targeting victims are reporting and have been reporting for ages. There it is in practice, right? MI5 killing somebody to set up an entire spiel, you know, and then on and on and on it goes. It has a lot of content. Please read it. Okay. So this one is important. Now, the other thing I would like to show you is also important in the US. This is from Deborah Tavares, okay, from stopthecrime.net. This is also very topical. It's not just the tap water that you guys need to watch. It's also, if you're in California, what they're doing with dead trees that might trigger a fire. Okay, so this is very, very important, by the way. Am I still broadcasting? I have to just check before I share my screen. Okay, there's some time delay. I think I hope I'm still connected. So the video that I'm referring to is called Fires, PG&E Failed to Do the Work to Reduce the Fire Risk. And this is an important video because Deborah Tavares is recording it. So she was recording a conversation with the people who were sent to clear the foliage, to clear the trees, you know, cut the trees. And she discovered that entire streets are being divided up between different companies to cut the trees next to power lines and so on. And basically the entire setup seems to be such that no company has the full overview about what's happening, and that a lot of, you know, dead trees that could start a fire, it looks like, are purposely left to start a fire, if you know what I mean. So please listen to this video. It's very important if you live in California, or if you're investigating, you know, fires being started. And this is Deborah Tavares reporting about her own home and what is happening in the street, you know. So super, super important. You all have to follow this. And this is 15 minutes. So please have a look. And of course, the background to this is, again, the genocide in California, which was directed energy weapons and many other things using power lines and so on. And PG&E is a Rothschild company. So it very much looks like Rothschild, just the Rothschild-owned company was involved in the extermination of thousands of Americans in California. Big deal, right? So you need to care about those things. And now it looks like they're about to do it again. Okay, so what Deborah Tavares is really reporting about is the circumstantial evidence that might point towards another genocide being committed using forest fires as a cover. Okay, that's why you need to know about this stuff. Now, the other thing that's important, I've got, how much do I have? I have, I think, 2 more links. Okay, 2 more links. I mentioned AG Barr, Attorney General Barr, before. I would like to share my screen and show you something I spotted. Now, this is another video. The video itself has nothing to do with what I want to show you. It just happened to be open in a tab that just before I went online, and then the video started playing and my eye fell onto something that is important. It's to do with cartel signaling, and I want to point that out. So the video I'm referring to is from Crowdsource the Truth. It's Jason Goodman's channel. And this is the video called The Intelligence Assessment with Special Guest Diana West, the bizarre Epstein-Barr syndrome. I think it's an important video, but what I would like to point out is that at some point, Jason Goodman is showing the books written by the father of AG Barr, so Attorney General Barr. This is the father of the current Attorney General investigating all this stuff, okay? Now, what I noticed was really strange is that you have all these books written by him. And here it's the wars in Barbary, health disparities in the United States. He's written one about atomic energy. And then there's one book that really sticks out. And this is Who Pushed Humpty Dumpty by Donald Barr. Right? And I think it says Dilemma in American Education Today. But it's like Humpty Dumpty. Really? I mean, this whole Alice in Wonderland is really cartel signally, brain mind control, you know, monarch programming sort of stuff. How come this appears, right? And you know, or you maybe heard that Donald Barr, the father of the current Attorney General, was a CIA operative. Okay, so when a CIA operative is referring to Humpty Dumpty and wrote a book entitled Who Pushed Humpty Dumpty, you should sit up and listen, because it's cartel signaling. It will be something like the Hitler file on page 33. And then to top it off, there is an orange and the blue little wheel. Now this wheel is not exactly Masonic, but it's the symbol of the Rotary Club. Okay, the Rotary Club, pretty much the same thing as the Masons. It's like another flavor set up by Vatican Intel, you know? But this wheel is the Rotary Club, and there's 2 above and below, right? Blue, yellow. That almost looks like the sun, you know? Maybe the sky and the sun, or the ground, or water and the sun, you know, the sea as in the Holy See, a word, or a play on words, the Holy See and the sun worship, and the Rotary Club, you know, it's like, oh, the colors are really, really odd. Humpty Dumpty is really odd, and the Rotary Club is right in there. The CIA connection is right here. I was thinking, if any of you could get hold of this book and read it, I think it might be worth your time. Because there's something not quite right here, okay? Now, the other books that A.G. Barr has written, for example, is things like Space Relations, a slightly gothic interplanetary tale, then one about health policy, A Planet in Arms, and atomic energy, you know? All kind of like, yeah, maybe people should look into this. Right? There seems to be more than meets the eye at first. So this is something I wanted to show you. Then the other link I wanted to show you, also related to cartel signaling, and then I'll finish with this. Some of you have seen my video, although it was mostly audio, where I just had a yellow post-it note over it, and I was talking about the fake death of Epstein, okay, from Epstein Island and Lolita Express fame. Now, I already told you my view that Epstein isn't dead. His death was faked, and the corpse is fake, and the whole thing is a fucking Masonic shit show, okay? Now, meanwhile, we've got the Attorney General who doesn't really pick up on the fact that this is a shit show, kind of like, you know, curiously omitting the fact that, oh, you know, either somebody committed in suicide in a way that is really impossible, right? Or was ferreted out. Now, meanwhile, okay, what some people have dug up, and please check if this is for real, but this is what has been sent to me, and it kind of looks real and kind of fits the story, is that one of the prison guards, okay, so this article is about one of the prison guards here. So Warden Shirley Skipper Scott, as in skipping jail, scot-free, sued Eric Holder for racism, then got promoted to New York City's MCC, where Epstein died. Okay. This was published August this year, 13th of August. So Shirley Skipper Scott, a graduate from Alabama State, was the warden at the Metro Correctional Center in New York City. She was reassigned today following the death of the most important inmate of the century, Jeffrey Epstein. She was obviously not the woman for the job. Under her watch, she was allowed the highest profile prisoner, under her watch, she allowed the highest profile prisoner in the US to commit suicide or worse. What's worse than suicide? They think it's murder. I say, if he's not dead, that's worse. So Epstein was said he was considering cooperation in naming names in his international sex ring. He was found unconscious in his prison cell just 3 weeks earlier. Really? I'm not sure. 2 days prior to his death, documents released for the first time implicated several top Democrats in his pedo sex ring. He was taken off suicide watch after a failed attempt just 2 weeks earlier. So that's bullshit, isn't it? He was in isolation. The cameras malfunctioned. Well, that's bullshit. The prison guards had worked several extra shifts last week. One prison guard on his floor was not even a certified guard. Yeah, but probably a Mason. The prison guards forgot to check on Epstein. Yeah, sure. The guards did not check Epstein for several hours. Yeah, sure, because he had to be ferreted out. And there were reports of screaming the morning Epstein died. Probably because his cup of coffee wasn't hot enough. Epstein said he was the victim of attempted murder 3 weeks ago. Oh, come off it. Epstein had dirt on numerous globalist elites. Epstein, well, he was paid by them. Epstein had sheets in his cell to hang himself. Epstein was not suicidal, according to medical professionals. Now, the prison obviously suffered a breakdown in official policy. Shirley Skipper Scott sued Eric Holder in 2013, you know. Shirley Skipper Scott worked as a social scientist in the federal system for several years at the G12 level. Then she sued AG Eric Holder for employment discrimination in 2013. Resolved the case in 2016 and saw her career blossom into the Federal Prison Administration at GS14 level, i.e. the top 10% of federal pay scale thereafter. So Skipper Scott was removed as warden this week. She failed the American public. And then, without comment, they put in an image of her with a red car in the background doing the pyramid symbol. And the article doesn't even mention it, doesn't even mention why it's included. No comment, no caption, and it's the same woman as shown here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is cartel signaling. Okay. Now, this for sure is cartel signaling. Now, the article the journalist either doesn't want to get killed by the cartel, so he doesn't point it out, but he puts in the important smoking gun evidence, right? Or maybe he's a cartel member, cartel signaling himself. But the point is, the prison warden, where this Masonic shit show went down, is a cartel member. Okay, it's here. It's in this article. God, yeah, well, you know, people could have guessed. So the take-home message now, and I will finish with this, is that the prisons, just like the police and just like the courts, are controlled by the Masonic crime cartel for the Vatican criminal cabal. Okay, Vatican / bankers. If you jail somebody after long, you know, winded court process, you have no guarantees he will stay there, because that place called a prison is run by Masons. It is run by the people who are paid by the people who paid Epstein, and who are generating the control files on the people who run the prisons and the Supreme Courts around the world. Do you see this closed loop? So the real question all of you sovereign, you know, people of planet Earth need to ask yourself is, what will we think of in the 21st century to make sure that people who go to prison stay in prison? All right. And keep in mind that if you wanted to check if a person is in prison, you would have to register yourself as a visitor ahead of time, allowing the Masons who run the prison to bring that person, fly them back from the, you know, Cayman Islands or the Caribbean, to be in prison the day you visit him, and put makeup on him to cover up the fact that he's got a massive tan. Right? But we don't have any guarantees that people who are in prison stay in prison, or people who are dead are actually dead. We have nothing. So we have to think about how can we tangibly, with our own eyes and ears, and ideally by touch, check that what is claimed to be true is actually true. And at this stage, I would like to slip in a final, you know, final thing, which is a word of warning about, oh, by the way, I've just realized I'm shaking the table. It must have been annoying like fuck watching me. Sorry about that. But the other thing you also need to keep in mind is all this thing about Guantanamo. It's like, oh yeah, we took all these war criminals to Guantanamo and then we executed them. Do you have any guarantees? Guantanamo is controlled by the US military, which is running the genocide for the cabal. Okay. The point is, when they put the criminals into Guantanamo, you as an American have no way to check up on your government. If they put them into prisons in America, you can go and register as a visitor, and at least, you know, you kind of can pester them to make sure that they keep bringing these people back from holiday, the days when they are visitors, right? So as much as I love the idea of having people locked up forever in Guantanamo, if they were ever locked up there, none of us could ever check what's going on there. You know, Guantanamo might just become the next Epstein Island. It's a high security zone. People can't see who's there, what the people there are doing. You know, it's in a nice location. You might as well use it as for sex parties to generate control files. Okay, so we have absolutely no guarantees. And now people, God, I need to go to bed because I'm so exhausted. I'm about to faint. So these are the news. Okay, I'm working flat out on court cases, and my energy is drained. You can tell that shit's going down in the world. You know, geez, you know, CIA's, you know, why? I mean, this is what I find so crazy. If you're the CIA station chief, you're an agent of the crown. Why do you have to have your wife kidnapped by the crown, by MI5? I just don't get it. Because another guy whose daddy was a crown agent, namely AG Barr, is asking for information about the crown. I mean, it's all just so fucking circular. Can we not find an attorney general whose, you know, parents have never been in the CIA, right? Is that possible with 327 million people? I don't know, because when I read these articles, all I see is the Crown Corporation doing something with Crown agents against Crown agents to, you know, protect the Crown, and it's reported about by Crown agents. And I just think, oh, you know, come on. Anyway, this is what I wanted to say today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope all this is useful. I hope you now maybe have more leads to follow up, and please stay alert, stay feisty, and don't let them bullshit you. Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and bye for now.